Philby was promoted again in MI6 after impressing the Director General. He was appointed number 2 as they reopened their Soviet Affairs section after the war. MI6 put a Soviet double agent in charge of countering Soviet espionage. This was a huge triumph for the Soviet intelligence because it gave Philby access to very sensitive documents just in time for the start of this Cold War. In this position, he was able to protect his old Cambridge 5 comrades, Blunt, Burgess and Maclean, and he also informed his Soviet controllers about Konstantin Volkov, a Soviet diplomat who was informing London about the Soviet spies working in the British Foreign Office. Volkov was arrested by the KGB, interrogated and subsequently executed. At the tensest time of the Cold War, Philby was posted to Washington, D.C. to be the liaison between the CIA and MI6. While he was there, he betrayed a US-British joint operation to secretly send thousands of trained Albanians back into Albania to overthrow the communist regime of Enver Hoxha. Philby revealed the information to the Soviet Union, and the operation failed with many of the infiltrators being killed before the coup started. Philby himself tries to turn this to his credit. He claims his actions helped prevent World War III. He believes if he had not compromised the operation and it had succeeded, then the CIA and MI6 would have attempted the same in countries like Bulgaria, after which he believes the Soviet Union would have become involved, leading to war. MI6 had so much confidence in Philby's ability that in 1950 he was discussed as a candidate to become the next Director General of MI6. However, MI5 did a security check on Philby, and the evidence of Volkov was studied in detail. The investigation made many suspicious at the speed of which Philby rejected his communist beliefs he had held at Cambridge and adopted the right-wing views throughout and following the Spanish Civil War. Things got worse for Philby, as 2 of his old Cambridge friends defected to the USSR in 1951. Philby was arrested but cleared of any malpractice. Harold Macmillan, the ex-Prime Minister but then Foreign Secretary, publicly dismissed a claim by the New York Sunday News which said that Philby was a Soviet spy, saying he carried out his duties ably and conscientiously, and I have no reason to conclude that Mr. Philby has at any time betrayed the interests of his country. Philby held a press conference to deny he was a communist, quite against his nature, as he had spent most of his life trying to avoid publicity at all times. The British accusers dropped their claim, and Philby seemed to be innocent. He moved to the Middle East to work as a journalist, but still worked part-time for MI6. In 1961, a KGB agent defected to the West, providing evidence that Philby had been part of a spy ring that also included his old Cambridge friends Burgess and Maclean. MI5 sent Nicholas Elliott, an agent and good friend of Philby who had earlier believed his innocence, to secure his full confession. When they met in late 1962, Philby told Elliott he had been half expecting to see him. Elliott confronted him, saying, "I once looked up to you, Kim. My God, how I despise you now. I hope you have enough decency to understand why." Philby admitted the charges of espionage, but fled to Russia before a written statement was arranged. He obtained political asylum. Putting it simply, Philby was able to get away with his betrayal for so long because of the British class system and the fact that his colleagues Men of his own height, class and education just couldn't believe that an Englishman of his type, born into the ruling class of the British Empire, charming, confident and popular, would be a double agent for those horrible Russians. It took him years of careful planning to get into the MI6, starting with journalism, being with and talking to the right people, building contacts with the establishment. He was even able to remove and replace his own boss in MI6, which Philby says was a very dirty story. But after all, our work does imply getting our hands dirty from time to time. In a top secret speech to East German spies, he gives one piece of advice to the spies listening to him. Never confess. If they confront you with a document containing your handwriting, it's a forgery. Just deny everything. Kim Philby, the finest British spy and Soviet hero.